Dr. Hae-yun Kim sat at her desk, her eyes tired from staring at numbers all day. The small office at Seoul National University felt even smaller today. Outside her window, students walked by, laughing and talking. Inside, she was alone with her work, as usual. Hae-yun rubbed her eyes and looked at the math problem on her computer screen. She had been working on this for months. Other mathematicians had given up, saying it could not be solved. But Hae-yun did not believe in impossible problems. Dr. Kim. A young student knocked on her open door. Everyone is watching the news in the main hall. You should come see this. Hae-yun frowned. What is happening? Aliens, the student said, eyes wide. Real aliens. They've landed. 5 minutes later, Hae-yun stood in the crowded main hall. Every screen showed the same thing. A smooth silver ship that had landed in an open field outside New York. No one was talking. Everyone was watching. A door opened on the ship. Out walked tall, thin beings with pale blue skin. They had large heads and 4 long arms. They moved with grace, like dancers. We are the Dorani. One of them spoke in perfect English. We come in peace to share knowledge with worthy minds. The world changed that day. Within a week, Dorani ships appeared over major cities around the world. They came to Seoul on a rainy Tuesday. Hae-yun watched from her office window as the ship hovered over the university. It was beautiful and frightening at the same time. Students and teachers gathered in the open spaces, looking up with wonder and fear. When the Dorani came to the university, they asked to meet with the top minds in science and math. Hae-yun was not invited to this meeting. Instead, her boss, Dr. Ta Woo Park, went with 5 male professors. You should focus on your regular work, Dr. Park told her when she asked about the meeting. The Dorani are interested in our best people. Hae-yun bit her lip and nodded. She had heard these words before, in different ways, all her life. Even though she had solved problems others couldn't, even though her papers were published in top journals, she was still not seen as one of the best people. Later that day, the university president announced that the Dorani had shared amazing information about space travel, medicine, and energy. But they held back their most advanced knowledge. The Dorani say they must be sure we are ready, the president explained. They want to test our brightest minds. The next morning, Hae-yun received an email asking all math and physics professors to attend a special meeting. At least they had not forgotten her completely. The main lecture hall was packed. On the stage stood 3 Dorani. They were even more impressive up close. Their eyes were large and deep, like they could see right through you. The tallest Dorani stepped forward. I am Krell, chief scientist of our mission to Earth. We have explored many worlds and met many species. We share our knowledge only with those who prove themselves worthy. Krell tapped a device on his wrist. A hologram appeared above the stage, showing a complex equation filled with symbols, some familiar and some completely new. This is what we call the Dorani paradox, Krell said. For centuries, the greatest minds across the galaxy have tried to solve it. So far, none have succeeded completely. If humans can solve this equation, we will know you are ready for our advanced knowledge. People whispered excitedly. Hae-yun stared at the equation, her mind already working on it. There was something about its structure that looked familiar, yet strange. Krell continued, we will give you 3 Earth months. Good luck. As people left the hall, talking excitedly about the challenge, Hae-yun stayed in her seat, still looking at the equation now burned into her memory. She didn't notice Krell watching her with curious eyes. This is our chance, Dr. Park said loudly to the other professors. Korea will solve this first. Hae-yun finally stood up. I would like to join the team. Dr. Park looked at her and smiled in a way that didn't reach his eyes. We need people with experience in complex theoretical frameworks. Dr. Kim. But thank you for offering. As she walked away, Hae-yun heard a strange sound. She turned to see Krell making what must have been laughter. Interesting, the alien said, looking right at her. Very interesting indeed. The news of the Durrani challenge spread quickly across the world. Countries formed special teams of their best scientists. In Korea, the government set up a special building just for solving the alien equation. They filled it with computers, boards, and everything the team might need. Hae-yun was not invited to join the main team. Instead, Dr. Park put her in charge of checking the team's basic math and bringing them coffee. It was not the job for someone with her skills, but at least she was in the building, close to the work. Every morning, Hae-yun arrived early and left late. While the main team argued about approaches in the big conference room, she sat at her small desk in the corner. She copied the equation onto her tablet and stared at it for hours. "This part here," she said one day, pointing to a section of the equation on the main screen. "I think we're looking at it wrong." Dr. Park turned to her with cold eyes. "Dr. Kim, please focus on your assigned tasks." Hae-yun took a deep breath. "But if we change our view of this symbol here—" "We have discussed this already," Dr. Park cut her off. "Go check the calculations from Group B." That night, Hae-yun didn't go home. She stayed at her desk, working on her own ideas about the equation. The symbols the Durrani used were strange, but some reminded her of work she had done on nonlinear systems. "You work late," said a voice that made her jump. Krell stood in the doorway, his tall blue form looking even more alien in the dim light. Hae-yun had heard the Durrani were visiting all the teams around the world to check on progress. "Yes," she said simply, not sure what else to say to an alien. Krell walked over and looked at her tablet. "Interesting approach, but not what your team is working on." "It's my own idea," Hae-yun said. "And they do not listen to your ideas?" Krell asked. Hae-yun looked down. "They have their own way of doing things." Krell made that strange laughing sound again. "Human males are the same everywhere, it seems. They ignore their females even when the females might have answers." Hae-yun felt her face get hot. "It's not like that. They just want people with more experience." "Experience." Krell repeated the word like it tasted strange. "On my world, we care only about results." The next day, Korea's team presented their first attempt at a partial solution. The Durrani listened politely, then pointed out 15 major flaws in their approach. Dr. Park's face turned red with shame. "We will keep working," he promised. After the Durrani left, Dr. Park called a team meeting. "We need new ideas," he said. "Anyone?" Hae-yun raised her hand. Dr. Park ignored her. "Maybe we should look at how the symbols relate to dimensions," she said anyway. "Dr. Kim," Dr. Park said loudly, "please stick to support work." That evening, Krell returned. This time he found Hae-yun in the empty conference room, writing on the board. "Still working on your own?" he asked. "Yes," she said, not stopping her work. "And why do you think you can solve what others cannot?" Krell moved closer, watching her write. "Because I'm looking at it differently," Hae-yun said. "This isn't just math. It's about how we see reality." Krell laughed, louder this time. "A human female thinks she understands reality better than the Durrani. We have studied the universe for thousands of years." Hae-yun stopped writing and turned to him. "Maybe that's the problem. You've been looking at it the same way for too long." Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. "Interesting theory, but wrong." He pointed at her work. "Your approach will fail." "We'll see," Hae-yun said quietly. "Yes, we will see," Krell said. "But I predict you will give up within days when you hit the same walls all others have hit." After he left, Hae-yun stared at her work. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was impossible. But something deep inside told her to keep going. On her way home, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't know. "Hello," she answered. "Dr. Kim," a young male voice said. "My name is Ji-ho Lee. I'm a programmer. I saw your notes in the conference room. I think you're onto something, and I want to help." Hae-yun met Ji-ho at a small coffee shop away from the research center. He was younger than she expected, probably just out of college, with bright eyes and a nervous smile. I work in the IT department, Jaho explained. I'm supposed to keep the computers running, that's all. But I like math too. How did you see my notes? Hye-yeon asked, stirring her coffee. I was fixing a printer in the conference room late at night. Your work was on the board. The way you were looking at the dimensional aspects of the equation, it's different from what everyone else is doing. Hye-yeon nodded. And you think it might work? I don't know, Jaho said honestly. But I know the official team is stuck. They keep trying the same approaches. You're trying something new. They talked for hours. Jaho understood computers in a way Hye-yeon didn't. He could help her run complex calculations that would take her days to do by hand. We need to be careful, Hye-yeon said as they left. Dr. Park won't like us working together outside the official team. I know, Jaho nodded. We'll meet at my apartment. I have good computers there. For the next week, Hye-yeon did her regular work at the center during the day. At night, she went to Jaho's small apartment where they worked on her approach to the equation. Jaho wrote programs to test her ideas about how the strange symbols related to dimensions beyond the normal three. Meanwhile, the official team made little progress. The mood at the center grew tense. Countries around the world reported the same problem. No one could get past the first stages of the Dorini paradox. One evening, Dr. Park called an emergency meeting. We have 1 month left, he said, his voice tight with stress. We need to try something completely different. Hye-yeon raised her hand. This time, Dr. Park sighed and nodded to her. I've been working on an approach based on dimensional shifting, she began, her heart beating fast. Dimensional shifting. Dr. Park interrupted. That's theoretical at best. We need practical solutions, not fairy tales. But if you just look at this part here. Hye-yeon started again. Dr. Kim, Dr. Park's voice was hard now. We don't have time for untested theories from support staff. The room went quiet. Hye-yeon felt her face burn. She looked down at her hands, clenched tight in her lap. After the meeting, she went straight to Jaho's apartment. She was too angry to speak at first. She just wrote equations on his whiteboard, her hand moving fast, almost shaking. They won't listen, she finally said. Not until we solve it. Then we'll solve it, Jaho said simply. Without them. Late that night, while they were deep in their work, there was a knock at Jaho's door. They looked at each other in alarm. No one knew they were working together here. Jaho opened the door. Krell stood in the hallway, his tall blue form looking strange in the ordinary apartment building. May I come in? The alien asked. Stunned, Jaho stepped aside. Krell walked in and looked around the small apartment, now covered in notes, screens, and boards full of equations. Impressive, he said. You've been busy, Dr. Kim. How did you find us? Hye-yeon asked. The Dorini have technology beyond your understanding, Krell said. I was curious about your progress. He looked at the main board where Hye-yeon had been working. His large eyes narrowed. You're still pursuing dimensional shifting. I told you this would fail. And I told you I see it differently, Hye-yeon replied. Krell laughed, that strange alien sound that now made Hye-yeon's skin crawl. You humans. So stubborn, so primitive. He pointed to a section of her work. This part here, it's completely wrong. No, Hye-yeon said firmly. It's not wrong. It's just not the way the Dorini would do it. Krell stared at her for a long moment. Very well. Continue your futile work. It amuses me to watch. After he left, Jaho looked worried. Will he tell Dr. Park? I don't think so, Hye-yeon said. He just wants to watch us fail. And if we don't fail? Jaho asked. Hye-yeon turned back to the board. Then he'll have to admit he was wrong. And I don't think Krell is used to being wrong. 2 weeks passed. Hye-yeon was tired all the time now. During the day, she worked at the research center. At night, she worked with Jaho on their secret project. She slept only a few hours each night, but her mind was too full of numbers and ideas to rest properly. The official Korean team was falling apart. 2 members had quit, saying the equation was impossible. Dr. Park looked more stressed each day. News from around the world was the same. No one was making real progress. Maybe it really is impossible, Jae-ho said one night when their latest test failed. Maybe the Durrani just want to show us how much smarter they are. No, Hae-yun said firmly. There's an answer. We're just not seeing it yet. That night, Hae-yun didn't go home. She stayed at Jae-ho's apartment after he went to bed, staring at their work. Something was missing. Some connection she couldn't quite see. At 3 in the morning, she made herself a strong cup of coffee and sat on the small balcony. The city was quiet and dark. Stars shone overhead, and she wondered which one was the Durrani home world. "What are you trying to show us?" she whispered to the stars. Then she remembered something her grandmother used to tell her. An old Korean saying, "The truth is not always in the light, but in the space between." Hae-yun went back inside and looked at the equation again. What if the answer wasn't in the symbols themselves, but in the relationships between them? What if the spaces mattered as much as the marks? She started writing fast, her tired mind suddenly clear. What if the Durrani paradox wasn't about solving for a single answer, but about finding a balance between all possible answers? Hae-yun worked through the night. When Jae-ho woke up at 7, he found her surrounded by papers, her eyes red but bright. "I think I found something," she said, her voice scratchy from not talking for hours. Jae-ho looked at her work. "This is completely different." "Yes," Hae-yun nodded. "I was thinking about old Korean philosophy, about how everything is connected. The Durrani equation isn't about finding one right answer. It's about seeing how all answers connect." "Can you explain it more simply?" Jae-ho asked, looking confused. Hae-yun thought for a moment. "It's like, imagine the universe is a song. Everyone has been trying to find the right note. But what if we need to hear the whole song at once?" Jae-ho still looked confused, but he nodded. "Let's test it." They spent the day programming a new model based on Hae-yun's idea. By evening, they had a simulation running on Jae-ho's computer. "It will take all night to process," Jae-ho said, looking at the screen where numbers and symbols flowed by. "Then we wait," Hae-yun said. She fell asleep on Jae-ho's couch, too tired to stay awake any longer. In her dreams, she saw the equation transform into a beautiful pattern of light, like a map of the stars. A loud beeping woke her up. It was just after midnight. Jae-ho was already at the computer, his eyes wide. "Hae-yun," he said, using her first name for the first time. "Look at this." She hurried over. On the screen, the first part of the Durrani paradox had resolved into a clear pattern. It wasn't a single answer, but a field of connected solutions, balanced perfectly against each other. "It worked," she whispered. "At least for this part." "This is amazing," Jae-ho said. "No one else has gotten this far. Not even close." Hae-yun stared at the screen. "We need to test the next part now." "Should we tell the official team?" Jae-ho asked. Hae-yun thought about Dr. Park and how he had dismissed her. She thought about Krell's mocking laugh. "Not yet," she said. "Not until we're sure. Not until we have more." As they set up the next test, Hae-yun felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could solve the impossible equation after all. Outside the apartment, watching through the window with his alien technology, Krell observed their progress. For the first time, he wasn't laughing. Hae-yun could hardly focus at work the next day. Their breakthrough kept playing in her mind. The second test was still running on Jae-ho's computer. She checked her phone every few minutes, waiting for his message. At the research center, things were getting worse. Dr. Park looked like he hadn't slept in days. The remaining team members barely talked to each other. "We have 3 weeks left," Dr. Park announced during the morning meeting. His voice sounded empty. If anyone has any ideas at all, now is the time. Hei-yun said nothing. She wasn't ready to share yet. They needed more proof. At lunchtime, her phone finally buzzed. It worked. Jai-ho's message said, "Second part resolved too. Come quick." Hei-yun told Dr. Park she wasn't feeling well and needed to go home. He barely looked at her as he nodded. When she arrived at Jai-ho's apartment, she found him talking to someone else. A young woman with short hair and glasses sat at his computer. "This is Su-min," Jai-ho said. "She works in the physics department at my university." I showed her our results. Hei-yun felt a flash of anger. "You showed someone without asking me." "I'm sorry," Jai-ho said quickly, "but we need help with the physics parts. I don't understand enough about quantum fields." Su-min stood up and bowed slightly to Hei-yun. "Your work is amazing, Dr. Kim. I've never seen anything like it." Hei-yun's anger faded a little. "You understand what we're doing." "Not completely," Su-min admitted. "But I can see you're connecting mathematical dimensions with physical reality in a new way. I think I can help with the quantum mechanics parts." Hei-yun looked at the screen. The second part of the equation had indeed resolved, showing another beautiful pattern of balanced solutions. "Okay," she finally said, "but this stays between us for now." The three of them worked through the afternoon and evening. Su-min brought new insights about how energy fields could connect across dimensions. Ji-ho created better programs to test their ideas. Hei-yun guided the overall approach, making sure everything fit together. As they worked, Hei-yun felt something she hadn't felt in years: the joy of true collaboration. No one was judging her or dismissing her ideas. They were all just trying to solve the puzzle together. "I think we're ready for the third part now," Hei-yun said as night fell. Before they could start the new test, there was a knock at the door. They all froze. Ji-ho went to check. "It's Krell," he whispered, looking through the peephole. "Let him in," Hei-yun said after a moment. "He probably already knows what we're doing anyway." Krell entered the small apartment, looking even taller and more alien next to Su-min, who stared at him with wide eyes. "You've added to your team," Krell noted. "Wise decision." "What do you want?" Hei-yun asked directly. "To observe," Krell said. "Your progress is unexpected." "You mean we're actually solving it?" Hei-yun said. "Partially," Krell admitted. "But the hardest parts are still ahead." He walked to their main board and studied it. "Your approach is unusual. It would not occur to a Durrani to think this way." "Is that good or bad?" Ji-ho asked. "It is interesting," Krell said. "Perhaps humans see patterns that we do not." This was different from his usual mocking tone. Hei-yun studied his alien face, trying to understand what he was thinking. "Will you tell the other teams about our work?" Su-min asked. "No," Krell said. "The test is for each group to solve on their own. I am merely curious." He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. "The next part will be much harder. Your current method will not be enough." After he left, the three humans looked at each other. Was he trying to help us or discourage us? Ji-ho wondered. "I'm not sure," Hei-yun said. "But he's right about one thing. The next part will be harder." "Then we'd better get to work," Su-min said, turning back to the computer. That night, they started the test for the third part of the equation. As Krell had warned, their method wasn't working as well now. But Hei-yun wasn't ready to give up. Not when they had come so far. "We need to think even more differently," she said, staring at the failed test results. "The answer is still there. We just need to find a new way to see it." 2 more weeks passed. Hei-yun's team worked day and night on the third part of the equation. They made progress, but not enough. They could solve small pieces, but not the whole part. "We have 1 week left," Ji-ho said, rubbing his tired eyes. "Maybe we should tell the official team what we found so far." Hei-yun looked at their work. They had solved more than anyone else in the world, as far as they knew, but it still wasn't enough. "Not yet," she said. One more try. That day at the research center, Dr. Park announced that an international conference would be held in Seoul. All teams from around the world would present their progress. The Durrani would attend to hear the results. This is our last chance, Dr. Park told the Korean team. We need to show something, anything. Hae-yeon listened quietly. Their team had nothing real to show, just like all the others. That night, Soo-min came to Jae-ho's apartment with news. My professor says no team has solved even the first part completely, she said. Everyone is stuck. Hae-yeon made a decision. We'll present our work at the conference. But Dr. Park won't let you, Jae-ho said. I'll find a way, Hae-yeon replied. The day of the conference arrived. Scientists from all over the world filled the large hall at Seoul National University. The Durrani sat in the front row, Krell among them. Dr. Park presented the Korean team's work first. They had made some progress on the first part of the equation, but not much. Other teams showed similar results. Some had tried different approaches, but none had solved even half of the first part. As the last team finished their presentation, Hae-yeon stood up from her seat in the back of the hall. I have something to present, she called out. Dr. Park turned and saw her. His face went dark with anger. Dr. Kim, this is not the time. I've solved the first two parts of the equation, Hae-yeon said loudly. The hall went quiet. Krell stood up. This human claims much. His voice carried the familiar mocking tone. Let her speak. Dr. Park looked like he wanted to argue, but with Krell's permission, he couldn't refuse. 5 minutes, he said to Hae-yeon. Hae-yeon walked to the front of the hall. Jae-ho and Soo-min followed, carrying their notes and a small computer. My name is Dr. Hae-yeon Kim, she began. I work at Seoul National University. These are my colleagues, Jae-ho Lee and Soo-min Yoon. We have been working on the Durrani paradox in our free time. People in the audience whispered to each other. Krell watched her with his large alien eyes. We approach the problem differently, Hae-yeon continued. The equation isn't about finding one right answer. It's about finding the balance between all possible answers. She connected their computer to the main screen and showed their results for the first part of the equation. The beautiful pattern appeared, complete and balanced. The hall erupted in noise. Scientists stood up, talking excitedly. Dr. Park stared at the screen, his mouth open in shock. This is correct, Krell announced, his voice cutting through the noise. The hall went quiet again. You have solved the first part, and most of the second, Hae-yeon said, showing their next results. Krell walked to the front and studied the screen. How? He asked simply. We looked at the spaces between the symbols, not just the symbols themselves, Hae-yeon explained. We used ideas from ancient Korean philosophy about balance and connection. Everything is connected, even across dimensions. Krell turned to the audience. This human female and her team have done what no one else has. They have seen what others could not. He turned back to Hae-yeon. But the third part, you cannot solve it yet. No, Hae-yeon admitted. We're stuck. Then perhaps, Krell said, it is time for all humans to work together. Dr. Park stepped forward, his face now showing a mix of surprise and respect. Dr. Kim, will you lead a combined team to tackle the third part? Hae-yeon looked at Jae-ho and Soo-min, who nodded encouragingly. Then she looked at Krell, who was no longer laughing. Yes, she said. We have 1 week left. Let's solve this together. The next day, scientists from around the world gathered in the Korean Research Center. The large conference room was packed with people. Hae-yeon stood at the front, explaining their approach. We need to think about dimensions differently, she said, not as separate things, but as parts of a whole. Some of the scientists nodded. Others looked confused. Dr. Park stayed in the back, watching quietly. Dr. Kim's approach is unusual but effective, he told a group of scientists during a break. We should follow her lead on this. Hae-yeon was surprised by his support. Just days ago, he had ignored her ideas. Now he treated her with respect. The combined team worked through the day and night. Hei-yun, Jai-ho, and Su-min showed everyone their methods. Scientists from America, Europe, and Asia added their own ideas. Together, they pushed forward on the third part of the equation. Krell visited often, watching their progress. He no longer laughed at Hei-yun. Instead, he studied their work with serious eyes. "You have 5 days left," he reminded them. On the third day, a scientist from India made an important discovery. She found a new way to understand one of the Dorini symbols. "It's not a fixed point," she explained excitedly. "It's a moving reference." This breakthrough helped them solve another piece of the third part. The team cheered and worked with new energy. That night, Hei-yun stayed late after others had gone to rest. She stared at the remaining parts of the equation, trying to see the pattern. "You should sleep," Krell said, appearing behind her. Hei-yun jumped in surprise. "Do you always sneak up on people?" "I do not sneak," Krell said. "I walk normally." Despite her tiredness, Hei-yun smiled. "Why are you here so late?" Krell moved closer to the board. "I am curious. Your approach is different from any I have seen." "Because humans think differently than Dorini." "Perhaps," Krell said, "or perhaps because you think differently than most humans." Hei-yun looked at him. "Is that a compliment?" "An observation," Krell replied. Then he pointed to the board. "This section here, what do you see?" Hei-yun studied it. "It's about how energy moves between dimensions. But there's something missing." "Yes," Krell agreed. "Something important." For a moment, they worked together, alien and human, writing equations on the board. Krell didn't give her answers, but his questions helped her think in new ways. "The key," Hei-yun said suddenly, "is that the observer matters. The equation changes depending on who is looking at it." Krell's eyes widened slightly. "Interesting theory." The next morning, Hei-yun shared her idea with the team. The Dorini paradox isn't just about mathematics or physics. It's about perspective. The observer is part of the equation. A scientist from Germany stood up. "Like in quantum physics, the observer affects what is observed." "Yes," Hei-yun said, "but on a bigger scale, across dimensions." The team split into groups to test this new idea. By evening, they had solved another large piece of the third part. 3 days left, Krell reminded them. On the 5th day, with just 2 days remaining, they hit another wall. Something was still missing. Hei-yun paced the room, thinking hard. The team watched her, waiting for guidance. "What if," she said slowly, "the Dorini paradox isn't just a test of knowledge? What if it's a test of understanding?" "What do you mean?" Dr. Park asked. "I think," Hei-yun said, "the equation is telling us something about the universe itself, about how everything connects." She turned to Krell. "That's the point, isn't it? Not just to solve the math, but to understand what it means." Krell didn't speak, but something in his alien eyes changed. Hei-yun turned back to the team. "The final piece isn't about finding the right formula. It's about understanding the message in the equation." She walked to the board and began writing, faster and faster. The team watched as a new pattern emerged, not just of numbers and symbols, but of meaning. "I see it now," she whispered. "I see what it's telling us." The room was completely silent as everyone realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Even Krell stood perfectly still, his large eyes fixed on Hei-yun's work. They were no longer just solving an equation. They were uncovering a truth about the universe itself. The final 2 days were a blur of activity. Hei-yun barely ate or slept. The international team worked around her, following her lead, adding their knowledge when needed. "It's not just an equation," Hei-yun explained to the team. "It's a map of how dimensions connect." Dr. Park brought her coffee late that night. "I was wrong about you," he said quietly. "I should have listened earlier." Hei-yun was too busy to hold on to old anger. "We're all learning," she said simply. By morning, they had a complete theory. The third part of the equation was almost solved, but the final pieces were still missing. One day left, Krell reminded them when he visited. Hei-yun looked at him. You know we're close. Yes, Krell admitted. Closer than any species has come before. Then help us, Hei-yun said. Not with answers, but with the right questions. Krell thought for a moment, then nodded. What does the equation tell you about time? This simple question opened a new path. Hei-yun realized they had been thinking of time as separate from space. But in the Dorini paradox, time was woven together with all dimensions. Time isn't a line, she told the team. It's a fabric, connected to everything else. With this insight, they made rapid progress. By evening, they had solved most of the third part, but one final section remained stubborn. At midnight, with just hours left before the deadline, Hei-yun took a break. She went to the roof of the building for fresh air. The night was clear, stars shining brightly. She heard the door open behind her. Krell walked out onto the roof. Are you giving up? He asked. No, Hei-yun said. Just clearing my mind. They stood in silence, looking at the stars. Your world is beautiful, Krell said suddenly. Hei-yun looked at him in surprise. I thought you found humans primitive. Different, Krell corrected. Not primitive, just different. Hei-yun stared at the stars again. The final piece of the equation. It's about connection, isn't it? Not just between dimensions, but between different kinds of beings, different perspectives. Krell didn't answer, but his silence told her she was right. Hei-yun rushed back downstairs. The team looked up as she burst into the room. I know what we're missing, she said. For the next 3 hours, they worked on the final piece. Hei-yun guided them, bringing together ideas from mathematics, physics, philosophy, and even art. The solution wasn't just numbers. It was a new way of seeing reality. As dawn broke on the final day, they input the complete solution into their computers. The entire team held their breath as the program ran. On the main screen, the full Dorini paradox resolved into a beautiful, complex pattern. It showed how all dimensions connected, how time wove through space, how different perspectives could see the same reality in different ways. We did it, Jai-ho whispered. The team cheered, hugging each other, some crying with joy and relief. Krell entered the room with other Dorini. They looked at the screen in silence. Is it correct? Dr. Park asked. Krell stepped forward. His usually calm face showed emotion that even humans could recognize. Amazement. It is correct, he said. And more than correct, you have found insights that even the Dorini had not seen. He turned to Hei-yun. Our test was designed to find species who could think beyond their own limited perspective, who could see connections others miss. He bowed slightly to her. You have not just passed the test, you have exceeded it. The room was silent now. Hei-yun looked at the beautiful pattern on the screen, the solution that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. What happens now? She asked. Now, Krell said, we learn from each other. The Dorini have much knowledge to share with humans, but it seems humans have wisdom to share with us as well. He looked at Hei-yun with new respect in his alien eyes, especially those humans whom others underestimate. Hei-yun smiled. The impossible equation was solved, and something new was just beginning. 1 month after solving the Dorini paradox, Hei-yun sat in her new office. It was large and bright, with big windows that looked out over Seoul. On her desk sat a strange device that the Dorini had given to Earth, a small piece of their technology as the first reward. So much had changed. The Dorini had kept their promise. They began sharing their knowledge with humans, starting with medicine and clean energy. Already, doctors were using Dorini methods to treat diseases that were once incurable. Hei-yun now led the new International Institute for Dimensional Studies. Scientists from all over the world came to work with her. Even Dr. Park now treated her as an equal, maybe even with a bit of awe. Dr. Kim, her assistant, called from the door. Your team is ready for the meeting. He-Yun smiled and stood up. In the large conference room, Jai-Ho and Su-Min waited with 20 other scientists. They were studying the Dorani technology, learning how it worked, and finding ways to use it on Earth. Today we start testing the new energy system, He-Yun told the team. If it works, it could provide clean power for whole cities. As they discussed the plans, He-Yun's phone buzzed. It was a message she had been waiting for. I need to step out for a bit, she told the team. Jai-Ho, please lead the meeting. He-Yun took the elevator to the roof of the building. Krell was waiting for her there, looking out over the city. It is done, he said as she approached. The Dorani Council has approved. So Earth will join the Galactic Alliance? He-Yun asked. Yes. Krell nodded. The first step. It will take time, perhaps 20 of your years before full membership, but the path is open now. He-Yun looked out at Seoul, thinking about what this meant for humanity. Access to the stars, contact with other intelligent species, a whole new universe of knowledge. There is something else, Krell said, a personal matter. He-Yun turned to him, curious. Krell seemed almost nervous, which was strange for a Dorani. I have requested to stay on Earth as the permanent Dorani ambassador, he said. And I have also requested to study under you. He-Yun stared at him in surprise. Study under me? But your people are so much more advanced than ours. In technology, yes, Krell admitted. But you see connections that we miss. Your mind works differently. That is valuable. He-Yun thought about how Krell had laughed at her when they first met, how he had thought humans, especially human females, could never solve the Dorani paradox. And now he wanted to learn from her. I would be honored to teach you, she said, and to learn from you as well. Krell made a gesture that must have been a sign of respect among his people. The universe is full of different minds, different ways of seeing. That is its greatest treasure. As they stood there, a group of school children entered the roof garden on a tour. They stopped and stared at Krell with wide eyes. One little girl stepped forward. Are you really an alien? She asked Krell. Yes, Krell replied. I want to be a scientist like Dr. Kim, the girl said. So I can talk to aliens too. Krell looked at He-Yun. Your people will go far among the stars. That evening, He-Yun visited her grandmother, who lived in a small house outside the city. They sat drinking tea in the garden. I brought you something, He-Yun said, taking out a small device. She turned it on, and it projected a beautiful image of stars and galaxies in the air above them. This is a map of our galaxy, He-Yun explained. The Dorani gave it to me. All these points of light are stars with planets. Some have life. Her grandmother studied the map with calm eyes. So many worlds, she said, yet the truth is still the same everywhere. What truth? He-Yun asked. Her grandmother smiled. That everything is connected. That we must look not just at things, but at the spaces between them. She reached out and touched He-Yun's hand. You saw this when others could not. He-Yun looked up at the real stars now appearing in the evening sky. Somewhere out there, other beings were looking back. Thanks to one impossible equation that turned out to be possible after all, humans would now join them among the stars. And it all began because someone who was underestimated refused to give up. 6 months after solving the Dorani paradox, He-Yun stood on the observation deck of the Dorani ship. Earth looked small and blue below her. It was her first time in space, and her heart beat fast with excitement. It is beautiful, isn't it? Krell said, standing beside her. The first view of one's home planet from space is a moment all space-traveling beings remember. He-Yun nodded. She couldn't find words for how she felt. The Dorani had kept their promise. They shared medical technology that cured many diseases. They showed humans how to make clean energy that didn't harm the planet. And now, they had invited a small group of humans to visit their homeworld. He-Yun led the human team. Jai-Ho and Su-Min were with her, along with 5 other scientists from different countries. They were the first humans to travel beyond the moon. We will reach my world in 3 days, Krell said. The Durrani Council is eager to meet the human who solved our paradox. Hei-yun smiled. She was no longer just Dr. Kim, the mathematician that everyone ignored. Now she was Earth's ambassador to the stars. Children asked for her autograph. Her face appeared on magazine covers. The president of Korea had given her a special medal. But fame was not what made her happy. It was the work. Her new research center in Seoul had 500 scientists working together. They studied the Durrani knowledge and made new discoveries every day. What will your people think of us? Hei-yun asked Krell. They will be surprised, Krell admitted. As I was. We thought humans were too divided, too focused on small differences. We did not expect you to see the big picture. Hei-yun thought about how Dr. Park and others had ignored her ideas at first, how Krell himself had laughed at her. Things had changed so much. Now, Dr. Park ran the mathematics division of her research center. He had apologized for not listening to her. I was wrong, he had said simply. And I am grateful for the chance to learn from you now. Even more surprising was Krell. The alien who once mocked her now asked her questions about her thinking process. He wanted to understand how she had seen what generations of Durrani scientists had missed. Your mind works differently, he had told her. Not better or worse, just different. And difference is valuable in science. That night, while the other humans slept, Hei-yun floated in the ship's zero-gravity room. It was peaceful there, like floating in water, but even better. She could see stars through a clear dome above. Krell joined her, his blue form graceful in the weightlessness. I have a question, he said. A personal one. Go ahead, Hei-yun said. When I laughed at you, when I said a human female could not solve our paradox, why didn't you give up? Hei-yun thought for a moment. Because I knew I could see something others couldn't. And because every time someone told me I couldn't do something, it just made me want to try harder. Krell was quiet for a while. The Durrani rarely laugh at others now, he finally said. But long ago, we too were laughed at by more advanced species. It drove us to prove ourselves. So we're not so different after all, Hei-yun said. No, Krell agreed. Different minds, same spirit perhaps. When they reached the Durrani homeworld, millions of aliens came to see the humans. Their world was beautiful, with tall silver buildings and strange plants with purple leaves. The air smelled like cinnamon. The Durrani Council welcomed them in a huge round building made of something like glass but stronger. There were 12 Durrani Council members, sitting in a circle. Dr. Hei-yun Kim, the head of the council, said, "You have opened a new chapter in the relationship between our peoples. The solution you found to our paradox shows us that humans think in ways we do not. This makes you valuable allies." Hei-yun stepped forward. "We come to learn from you," she said, "but also to share our own knowledge. Different minds working together can solve problems that neither could solve alone." The head of the council nodded. Wise words. Today marks the beginning of a new age for both our worlds. As Hei-yun looked around at the grand council chamber of an alien world, she thought about her small office at Seoul National University, about how she had worked alone while others ignored her ideas, about how far she had come. The impossible had become possible, and this was just the beginning.